G'day everybody, we're talking today with Luke Taylor, and like always we'll just get straight into it, and I'll get you to introduce yourself. Luke, who are you today, mate?
I'm Luke Taylor. I run a health and performance business based in Hamilton. I suppose I'm also a triathlete, and in my spare time you'll find me surfing and snowboarding.
Fantastic, mate. And so growing up, what characteristic would define Luke Taylor? So we're talking sort of around kindy, primary school, that sort of age group. What really would define you? What characteristic?
Teacher's pet. I suppose I was a bit of a teacher's pet. I don't know. I was a really good kid, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it just didn't ever got in trouble. It was just too good for my own good. I think I have a lot of catching up to do now.
And where do you think that sort of characteristic came from, mate?
I suppose my mum's a very positive influence of mine. Yeah.
And so what sort of things would she promote? What sort of behaviours would she promote in you at home, which you think transcribed into being someone that would appease your teachers?
I don't even know, to be honest. My memory's so short. I don't remember too much from being young as a kid. She's just always very positive and focused on good attributes, I suppose, over negative attributes.
And how do you think that, you said you've got a lot of catching up to do today. How do you think that's influenced the things you do today?
I think in the way of challenging myself. I really like to challenge myself and put myself into some pretty, just challenging positions. Some would call risky. I just like to put myself out there and expose myself to, failure.
Great. And so you're into surfing. Is that a good way to knock yourself down or boost yourself up?
Knock myself down regularly. Yeah, it's the ocean's a very good mediator. It really if you start to get a little bit cocky, a little bit ahead of yourself, it'll slam you down and put you back in your place. So I like the ocean for that. It keeps me level-headed.
Awesome, mate. Now you've been in the media this week, mate. Front page even. How do you go from being broken at the end of a rugby season where you said you got pushed and you would play games like a mummy, to now doing triathlons? And what's the sort of self-talk that goes on each day to as you said in that article, stretch for an hour and today, look after your body and get yourself out to compete at a high level in triathlon? What sort of things goes on? One, when you're a broken mess after a rugby season, and then now to keep on going and keep on pushing to a level which potentially could break you again.
So I suppose that all started when I was a young kid, and I found out I was playing rugby as a kid at about 4 years old, and my parents got pointed out by all their family friends that I was running real weird, and so then they got me to a whole bunch of specialists, went from podiatrists down to all the physios, and then into the sports physicians and all that. And then they identified that I had flexibility disorder, and I got told if I wasn't active through puberty and didn't do that 60 minutes of stretching you were talking about earlier, I wouldn't be able to walk as an adult. I'd be wheelchair bound, and there was a surgery in America that I might possibly have had to do. So obviously sports always had a big impact on me from a young age. And it's kind of why I've ended up in the industry that I'm in. So I suppose, in that rugby season you're talking about in particular, it was quite a horrible season. I was playing 80 minutes a game. I had a very old school rugby coach that make sure I didn't come off and just pushed on through it. And because I'm quite mentally tough, I can do that. I pushed through that pain. In hindsight, I regret that decision because, I left that season with numerous sprained ankles, so much so that I created a bone spur in my left ankle. I all the overuse knee injuries you can imagine. I separated both shoulders several times, dislocated elbow, broke this wrist in the second game of the season, had to have a couple of surgeries on that. So yeah, it's fair to say at the end of that season I was pretty broken. So I went on. I tried everything. At this point, I think I was in my last year of my bachelor's, and I was working in the industry. I just started up Tailored Health and Performance, and I was trying to fix myself. But everything I looked at that traditional medicine told me that should fix it, didn't fix it. So I continued on battling it for another 3 years, and it wasn't until I kind of started to look a little bit deeper. I was like, there's got to be something deeper which is kind of causing this. And that's when I started to identify that it was my gut and my gut health and my stress levels that were hindering everything. And as soon as I got on top of those things, that's when I saw the results quickly follow. And then my natural nature of challenges, once being able to run again, I was like, okay, what's the most challenging thing I can physically do? And to me, that's an Ironman. So hence why I'm in triathlon now. I wanted to pick the most challenging thing and achieve it. And not just do it, but I want to do it well. Because I have a number of clients I need to beat. Yeah.
And so the second part of that question, what does the self-talk look like for you? Both when you said about that mental toughness in a game of rugby and now in terms of training and maintaining a healthy physical body to be able to go there and perform well.
Yeah, I suppose it's keeping that mental toughness in check, because I find it easy to push through pain, but it's about identifying which pain is a good pain and which pain is a bad pain. So I suppose that's been a big learning curve for me, is like how to kind of take that less is more approach, and really listen to my body a bit more and what it's telling me. Because I know I can push through pain, but what I really struggle with is trying to listen to the body and do what it's telling me to do. So I suppose getting that connection up there was quite a big thing. Self-talk, like from a young age, I think it was a turning point when I was about probably 14, 15. One New Year's resolution I made for myself, I caught myself being quite negative a fair bit. So I wanted to become positive. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do? What can I put in place? So I made this philosophy for myself, and it's something I've lived by ever since. Within every negative situation, there's a positive. Just sometimes you just need to look a little bit harder. So yeah, ever since 15 or so, I've kind of lived by those principles. Don't get me wrong, it is tough at some points. When things are dark and hard, but there is always that positive, regardless of how tough the times have been. I've always been able to identify a positive. But like I mentioned, sometimes it is harder. When you do identify that, you see the light at the end of the tunnel, or the silver lining, and it just makes things a lot better. And I've found that perspective shift is probably the most impactful thing I've ever done, because you're always looking at the positive instead of the negative. Yeah.
And do you recall how you came across this idea of thinking?
I got no idea. Just came to me. I couldn't even tell you. My memory's pretty bad, to be honest. I don't remember too much of my childhood. I just remember it's weird things. Yeah.
No, awesome. So you've set a pretty big goal to go and do the Ironman. Have you always been a goal setter, or is this something that you've developed as well in your later years?
Oh, well, yeah, I suppose goals has always been a big thing for me. But yeah, the way I see it is not so much a goal, but more a challenge. Because as my friends know, like if you challenge me to something, I will do it. I don't like to back down from a challenge. It can be good, it can be bad. I just want to really push my personal limits and see what I can achieve.
Awesome, mate. And so you talked about looking for a deeper cause into your injuries, and you and I have talked about a parasite that you were trying to get rid of. Now, of course, you're in the strength and conditioning and training realm, and you're not a nutritionist or naturopath. But what has worked for you, and what sort of things have you learned about your body through that journey of finding something deeper as a root cause of what causes your problems?
So yeah, it kind of all started with identifying that that I had chronic inflammation, and once I identified that I had chronic inflammation, I was like, okay, what is stemming this chronic inflammation? Is it my stress levels, which it was? Is it my gut health, which it was? And obviously the injury side as well, also chronic inflammation. So I had these three main causes that were causing my inflammation. So I was like, okay, how can I combat this? And from my science background, I like to quantify everything, and I like to know exactly, where I stand. So they led me down the path of getting IgG and IgA, which is a food intolerance test which can be done. So it's a blood test, and that identifies against 94 different foods what your intolerance is. So IgG is being like a slow response. IgA is the kind of more immediate response to a food. So what they came back with was I was extremely gluten intolerant, extremely dairy intolerant, and that's including everything: goat cheese, whey, casein, but I can handle a little bit of mozzarella, and peanuts, walnuts, and yeast. So those are kind of my key foods that I've had to eliminate out of my diet, which I did roughly about 2, maybe 3 years ago now, probably, around there. So it was quite a big step, because previously to that, my diet was based around gluten and dairy. Hence why I created these intolerances, because I was overloading. So that was quite a big shift in itself, removing those foods. And further down the line, I identified why those foods were my intolerances. So through the help of Ben Warren at Be Pure, I ended up going to do some testing with them, and it turned out I have a parasite, as you mentioned before. So the parasite I'm dealing with is Candida, hence why the yeast was in particular an intolerance. So I'm in the process of kind of culling that at the moment, taking a long-term approach to culling it. We're trying to do it through a good, healthy diet, removing anything that kind of feeds it, which is, your refined sugars, your yeast, and all that, and just trying to get the fiber in there to overbalance it, and doing fun things like liver and gallbladder cleanses, and yes.
Do you want to touch on what one of those cleanses might involve, mate? Or is it too graphic?
I sure I can, yeah. I'll try to leave out the graphics part of it. So it pretty much lasts for about a week. So the week leading into it, so about 5-6 days, you're taking malic acid, which is kind of priming the gut for the detox on the weekend. Because I usually do it on the weekend because I'm just out of action. And then it comes and you're also having a very high carbohydrate, removing the fat from your diet, which is quite tough for me because I normally do quite a high fat diet, so I find that works for me. But for this, I usually go to a high carbohydrate. And then on the Saturday, usually the day where I do the cleanse, I usually fast for that day, so I don't have any food up until 6. So I don't have any food to that day, and then at that morning I take some more malic acid, and then 6 p.m. it kind of really starts to start. So I start scaling back Epsom salts at 6 p.m. and then more Epsom salts at 8 p.m. and then at 10 p.m. I scale back olive oil and lemons. Following that, I go straight to bed and lie on my right side and just grin and bear it and try not to move. And then the night's not usually too pleasant. I won't go any further. The night is usually back and forth a fair bit. And then in the morning I wake up and scull 2 more cups of Epsom salts throughout the morning. Yeah, and it's not the funnest morning. But it's a great way to clean the system.
Yeah, I've had a small insight into that after a 60-hour fast doing just a basic salt cleanse, and could definitely understand what you're talking about of not being pleasant. But no, that's no, it's interesting, and definitely shows the depths that you go to try and take on the challenges that you've put in front of yourself. Why tailored fitness, mate? Why not just go down the road of working in a gym or trying to work for a team or something like that? Why tailored fitness? Why go out on your own?
So I worked in a number of gyms. So I started off in Club Aqua while I was still studying. Then I went to Anytime Fitness. When I went to Anytime Fitness, they had the contract model, which is where you kind of create your own business, and that's when I did create Tailored Fitness. So I contracted out of Anytime Fitness as Tailored Fitness, and that's kind of where it all started. And then I did it for a few years there. Obviously ceased to print it and lived for a year. Came back, and then went and started at City Fitness. Kind of get myself back on my feet after travel, and then I just got fed up with the limitations of being in a commercial facility. There was so much I wanted to achieve, and I was just restricted by the limitations of those facilities. So I just wanted to really venture out on my own and shape because I could see this gap in the market that wasn't being answered and wasn't being addressed, and I see it as being extremely important, but it just wasn't. So I just went out to kind of create that. Yeah.
Cool. And you've moved into a new facility. How's that going, mate?
Yeah. So this year kind of had the rebrand, moved from Tailored Fitness to Tailored Health and Performance, and then as of like last month, it's been a month there now. I moved into my new facility, which is it's bigger, it's warmer, got some nice natural light, and showers, facilities, and it's just got everything I need. It's good. And it's still really central in Hamilton, so I'm absolutely loving it. That's good.
Awesome, mate. You spoke about one of your sort of health and doing the cleansers monthly routines, would you say?
I do them monthly. Yep. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pass all the gallstones. So I got to keep doing them monthly until they're all gone.
Lovely. What's a daily routine? Because obviously you've got to prioritize a lot to get in your training, get in your work, get in extra study and things. What's sort of a daily routine for Luke?
So the start of this year was especially intense because I was, working full time, studying full time, doing my postgrad, and then training full time. So that was extremely intense. But it's a little bit easier now with the study being off. But to be honest, just as quickly with clients. Normal day for me is so variable. There's no normal day. Quite often would start with clients in the morning first thing, come home, have breakfast, and then depending on the time, either go for a training session then, or usually in the afternoon. It's just about what I can fit in, when I can fit in. I probably couldn't give you a set routine, to be honest. Day to day changes so much. Yeah.
Right. And so do you think that leaves you quite adaptable, especially if you need to go race somewhere that you're not familiar with?
Yeah, that's a good perspective of looking at it, actually. I suppose because of the variable nature of my training, it is quite sporadic, and I suppose that's what it's going to be like when I'm traveling and competing. So I suppose, in that perspective, it should be good.
Awesome, mate. So you did the duathlon on the weekend, and I saw in your wee blog there that you missed the swim. Is swimming your favourite discipline?
Oh, 100%, yeah. Swimming, I got a strong background in swimming from a kid. It's just my strong suit, and it's so much better. Because instead of coming out from the back, like I'm in the front where I like to be. Because with my broken toe, the run is a very weak point of mine at the moment. So, I wasn't that's what I didn't like about the duathlon. It would have been so bad if I wasn't injured. But, no, the bike went really well. But yeah, that's good.
And so with that, when it comes to training, are you training them equally? Do you think? Do you train extra hard on your weakness, or do you really double down on what's your best? Your swimming.
So up until previously, I've been doing no running really, very minimal. Only just kicked in with the running because of the broken toe, because I had to let it heal. It wasn't healing, so I just made sure I was getting my fitness through my swimming and my biking. But now that the toe held up in the duathlon, it's kicking up that running. So running is my key focus now. Got a solid base, and for the swim and the bike, it's just about maintaining those. But I want to really focus on the run. Yeah.
Magnificent. So I've just finished the rugby season here, and since then I tried to come back in and get into some training and do some legs, and then this week I've absolutely felt central nervous system burnout. So I'm absolutely knackered. Going to sleep at like 8:30, which is not like me. You wrote a post about doing a coffee detox, and it immediately struck me get off the coffees for a week, and it's also been a challenge. It's been good. Can you touch a little bit on why you think, especially for those of us who love a good cup of coffee, why it's important to have a week every now and again and detox out of that, mate?
Yeah, definitely. So like first of all, massive coffee fan. I love coffee. It's the greatest antioxidants in the Western diet. So keep that in mind. As for any stimulant, we should not be reliant on stimulants. We should be able to function without them. So the trick is, if you're reliant on coffee to get you up in the morning or to get you through the day, you need a detox. So you need to be able to step away from it and take that time off, because you've got your adrenal glands, which produce your stress hormone, which is cortisol. If you're chronically producing that stress hormone, which we are because we're so stimulated with our mobile phones and the computer screen that I'm on right now, we're always on the go. It can really wear those adrenal glands out. So it's really important to be able to remove the stimulants from your life so you're no longer reliant on them, and you can actually let your adrenals relax, and instead of just trying to keep ramping them up, allow them to go up and down like a natural flow, as they should. So when they see a response that they need to respond to, they respond, and then they go back to where they should be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, mate. And so how do you sort of identify when you're starting to, your central nervous system's overhyped and starting to really get you down? And obviously if you let it go too far, you can end up sick. How do you identify yourself?
I was about to say, you're probably the best person to ask right now because you're going through it. But yeah, so you'll start noticing the 3 p.m. crashes. You're sensitive to light. So you kind of need sunglasses when you go outside because the glare is too much for you. Getting sick all the time. Dark blemishes underneath your eyes. Struggling to get up in the morning without your coffee or your stimulants. And not getting hungry to 10 a.m. Yeah, these are all kind of key signs of adrenal fatigue, kind of what you're referring to. Yeah.
Awesome, mate. And so, what's between now and the World Champs, mate? What have you got to do?
Training. Training's a key thing. So a lot of that, especially focusing on that running, because I need to pick up that. And then I've got a lot of work on as well. Working with a few corporates at the moment, so just getting them right. And still working on sponsorship as well for World Champs as well. Another key thing. That's about me. But 20 days until I fly out on the 30th. So it's coming real.
And so just on that sponsorship, mate, we might as well put a plug in there for it because we need to get you on that plane. How can people help you make it to the World Champs?
So I've got a Give a Little page. So every dollar helps. Just looking for a bit of help to get me there. And what I'm trying to do is I I want to inspire others to kind of, take those challenges and really push their own personal boundaries. So that's what I'm trying to do with my story. So by helping me get there, you're kind of helping me inspire others, hopefully. Yeah.
And so, am I correct that there's a little bit of payback from you with the Give a Little page? How are you going to inspire them, mate?
So inspire them through my own personal journey. And if businesses in particular want to be a significant sponsor, I'm willing to give my services back as well from Tailored Health and Performance, help them in any way. So if they need corporate wellness, or even if it's just an individual, I'm happy to offer my services back, because I don't want to just take money. I want to actually give value back as much as possible.
Nice, mate. And how else can people track you down? I know you've got a good blog. It's always, I enjoy always reading that. And Instagram as well. Always some good stuff. Make me jealous of being at work, seeing you out on the surfboard, meditating up the mount. How can people find you, bro?
Tailoredhealth.co.nz is a website where you find my blog. I've got a personal athlete blog which I've just created as well, which is tailored dot one sec. This is a new blog, so give me time. Tailored and the word dot blog. And then we've got Tailored Health NZ on all the social medias. So you got your Facebook and your Instagram. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it. I can't find it there.
Awesome, mate. Well, best of luck for your training and for the World Champs, and I look forward to keeping on following your journey. Thanks very much for coming on board, and best of luck.
Thank you for the invitation.
Cheers, mate.